long-term memory can be broken up into a variety of parts. Now, there are two main types of long-term memory, what we call declarative or explicit long-term memory, and non-declarative or implicit long-term memory. So declarative things are things that you can easily declare or discuss verbally, whereas non-declarative memories are things that you can't really declare. You can't really verbalize or say them out loud. So let's give some examples. Let's go into more depth about these different types, starting with declarative memories first. So by definition, declarative memories are consciously really easy to retrieve and they're easy to talk about. So if you ask someone a question, it's very easy to describe or say the answer. And there are two main types, as you can see here from this tree. The first is semantic memory. Semantic memory is memory just for general knowledge or facts, things like who was our first president of the US, or what's the capital of Ohio, or what month comes after September. These are all things that you can tell me, you can verbalize and say out loud the answers, but they're not necessarily things that you remember when you learn that information. I don't know when I learned that October comes after September, but it's kind of just knowledge that you've retained and you're able to remember. Memory for semantics. The second type is episodic memory. So this is memory for personal experiences or episodes. So things like, what did you eat for lunch yesterday? Or what activity did we do during our last synchronous class? Or if we asked you to describe your favorite class in high school. These are things that you also can remember, that you can think back to, but they're not just facts or general knowledge. These are things where you can actually think back to where you were, what you were doing, who you were with, that kind of thing. And you can describe again what was happening. But this time it's more of a scene or an episode instead of a fact. Now, this is an example of a declarative memory episode, an episodic memory. So I want you to pretend that you're sitting outdoors on a bench in this park. I want you to watch this scene unfold around you and pay attention. I might ask you some questions about it later.
Yeah, I'll be with you.
My bag.
What?
My bag's gone.
Is it?
Interesting. So that's an example of an episode, a memory episode. Now, there's kind of one other term, one other really common subset of declarative memory, and it's called autobiographical memories. Now, this is kind of linked to both semantic and episodic memories, because this could be any combination of those things. They just have to be about you. So if you think about if like an author writes an autobiography about themselves, it's all this information about you. So these are things like your high school graduation. So you might remember some semantic pieces of your high school graduation, like the year you graduated or what the color of your robe was, that kind of thing. These are facts that you can recall. But you also might remember some episodic details of your high school graduation. For instance, where you were sitting, or who you were sitting next to, or how you almost tripped when you walked across the stage, that kind of thing. So autobiographical memories can contain both semantic facts, but also just semantic facts without episodic elements. So for instance, you might know that You were born in Cleveland, Ohio, but you probably don't have a memory of actually being born, right? So we tend to use our semantic knowledge in order to interpret our episodic memories. So, for instance, we might have semantic knowledge of how football works, the different rules of football, in order to form an autobiographical memory of us going to the game with our friends and watching and enjoying the game. Now, even though these memories involve you, it's not exactly like a video camera or a scrapbook where you can remember every single detail about your life from when you were born. Like if I were to ask you, what were you wearing on April 12th, 2010? You'd likely have no idea, right? But it turns out some people can answer that question. There's a small subset of people with superior autobiographical memory. It's a rare condition in which individuals have near perfect recollection of all of the details of their life, which is crazy to think about. I believe there's only about 20 documented cases of this ever existing. It might sound kind of cool, like maybe you'd be able to ace all your tests, which is great. But I want you to think about what might be some negatives of having a memory like this. Do you think there might be some beneficial reasons that you might want to forget things or let some information go?